Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Tiffany Rodriquez. The topic of my presentation today is the Victorian era in literature. The reason that this topic is useful for you is to recognize the challenges derived from transformations brought about by the industrialization as more lower-class women became wage laborers and more middle-class and upper-class women gained greater access to education and began to attain more political, economic, and social opportunities. We are going to talk about three things. These are, firstly, the literature of the Victorian era and how novelists chose to directly address the pressing social problems. Secondly, the historical period was marked by a rapid change in a distinct set of social values which altered the pre-existing perception of gender roles. Finally, we are going to look at a heroine in the literature, Jane Eyre, authored by Charlotte Bronte in the year 1847. Due to the limited time I have, 3 to 5 minutes, I request that you ask your questions at the end of my presentation. Firstly, I will summarize the literary period. Victorian novels tended to be idealized portraits of difficult lives in which hard work, perseverance, love, and luck went out in the end. Virtue would be rewarded and wrongdoers are suitably punished. They tended to be of an improving nature with a central moral lens at heart. Examples of characters from this era include Jane Eyre from the works of Charlotte Bronte and Catherine Earnshaw from the works of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights. That's the end of the first point. Now we move on to the second point, which is about the historical period. The extreme inequalities between men and women stimulated debate about women's roles. Radical changes in English society brought about industrialization. Women denied the right to vote or hold political office throughout the period. The woman question in Victorian England referred to various debates about women's place in society, with opposing voices emphasizing either the need to have greater economic, educational, and political opportunities, or the idea that women properly belonged in the home as a caretaker to her family. Lastly, I will move to the third point, which is about heroic qualities of Jane Eyre from Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Jane addressed constraints her gender dealt with and actively defied them. Jane embraced and searched for a greater meaning in life because she was poor and bound by social convention. Jane learned to value being alone so that she could truly know herself and what she wanted. Jane refused to let Edward treat her like she was inferior just because of her social status. That's all for this point. In conclusion, in this presentation, my objectives were to describe for a social advancement for women in literature during the Victorian age. I have covered 3 points. Firstly, the Victorian period and how novelists chose to address pressing social problems. Secondly, we talked about the rapid change in social values which altered the perception of gender roles. And finally, we discussed the heroic qualities of Jane Eyre from Jane Eyre. I hope you have found my presentation useful. Thank you. Questions, please? If there are no questions, that is my end of my presentation. Thank you.